And now, coming to you live from the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California, it's the Sheena Metal Experience with your host, Sheena Metal, only on KGRA Digital Broadcasting.
Hi, and welcome to the Sheena Metal Experience on KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. I'm your host, Sheena Metal. I'm a psychic medium. I'm an interfaith minister. I'm a 28-year talk radio host here in Los Angeles. I'm a performing artist, and I come to you live from my home in Southern California every Friday at 3 o'clock Pacific time. This show is about spirituality. It's about creativity. It's about humanity. It's about passion. It's about service. It's about becoming your best you and inspiring others to do the same in this big, beautiful world. And it may be my show, but it's always, without a doubt, your experience. My guest today is a wonderfully talented author, speaker, paranormal investigator, and spiritual being. He's known for his time on Ghost Hunters, amongst other things, and always a favorite at paranormal conventions. And I love to listen to him talk about God. Please welcome to the show, the most wonderful Dustin Pari is here. How are you, my friend? It's good to have you here.
Thanks so much, Sheena. Glad to be here. How's things?
Things are good. You are officially my first stand-up guest, maybe in my history of doing TV stuff. Yeah. And I think it's the coolest thing ever. So what is the energy for you of standing when you do interviews?
I remember when I first started doing like the phone interviews and stuff. I mean, nobody could even see you. I felt that if I'm sitting there in the chair, I get very comfortable and I trail off and my voice level goes low. My energy just drops.
Sure.
Once I started doing the in-person events, the convention circuit and stuff, I'd look around and listen, everyone do whatever's right for you. But for me, I was like, I feel that people pay to come to the conventions. They come to see me, or they come to see whoever. I want to make sure that I'm giving everything that I have. So I like to be standing up and available. So I usually get the chair, move it to the side, put my merch on it, and stand there all day giving out hugs and handshakes, wherever people want,
It's nice. It is easier to give hugs and handshakes when you're standing. Absolutely. There is a different kind of energy. And I like to do a lot of spiritual work sitting, because I like the grounding of it, because otherwise as an empath, I pick up so much and I'm everywhere and I don't need to be like that. Yeah. But I do find when people walk into a room that I feel the need to stand up and greet them standing up, and not make them sort of lean over to me. Yeah. So I do a lot of up and down and up and down and up and down. But I love what you're doing. And I knew there was a spiritual reason behind it, because there's a spiritual reason behind everything with you, my friend. That's really what I love about you. It's interesting because I did another person's show, which I do occasionally, a couple of weeks ago. And the first question he asked me was that, because I'm an interfaith minister, but I work at a church. I'm ordained, and then I'm pastored at a church that is sort of progressive Christian. And he said, well, how do you mix Christianity and what you do as a psychic and what you do in paranormal investigations? For me, there's no difference, because it all comes from God. But that's always the first question people ask when they find out that you're a person of faith who also is in this community, right? Have you found that experience too?
Yeah, just for many, many moons now, that seems to be one of the first questions all the time, to the point where I actually had a draft email saved for a bit with my answers to it, because I wanted to give everybody a full appropriate answer, but you get tired of writing it all the time, So
yeah, sure, absolutely.
Because, I get it, and I think it's an honest question. It's a fair question.
Sure.
I kind of feel as someone who is a person of faith that works in the paranormal community, there's a certain thing on my shoulders to make sure I answer that question appropriately, and we've talked before, Sheena, and I kind of feel we're of the same mindset with like, what's right for me may not be right for everybody else, but it's okay and it's good to have the different viewpoints. We can celebrate those commonalities, and we could even more so celebrate our differences, in a respectful way. I think there's plenty of room for all of that stuff, but to not see, it was always very confusing to me, people that go out and search for the spiritual realm and contact the other side, but they're like, oh, well, I don't really believe in the afterlife, or I don't believe in a faith. I'm like, I don't know how that works. Like, you got to have something, regardless of whatever God or goddess or whatever being you want to worship or to believe.
Sure, yeah.
There has to be something if you're out there searching for that type of interaction, So yeah, I don't know. It makes sense to me, at least.
Well, and I also say, and I say this with love to everyone, as I answer everything with love. If you don't believe in anything outside of the 3 dimensions, what are you doing in the paranormal community? Like,
Yeah,
what do you think
weird spell,
What do you think we're doing here? It's not chemistry.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, do you know what I mean? I mean, it's obviously you believe in things that are not quote unquote scientifically proven,
right.
or you wouldn't be here. So what do you think we're all doing here? But I think sometimes people think there's a difference in paranormal and spirituality. And I understand that it's all the same for me, but I've encountered people, I've been a performing artist since I was 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I've encountered people that throughout my life that believe that creativity and spirituality have nothing to do with each other. And I always say, yeah, but when you sit down in front of a blank piece of paper and there's nothing, and then it's like you close your eyes and you open it and there's 20 pages of dialogue, where do you think that came from? Or a song or a short story? But I guess I think it's a fearful thing. I think people fear the idea of something bigger than them, like a God or a source or a higher power. I think people think maybe ghosts are like otherworldly minutia, like an individual thing that we can quantify and put in a box. This particular spirit lives in this particular house and does these particular things. And there's not that vastness, right, Dustin?
Yeah, it's so much bigger than all of that, and there's plenty of room. I feel it's kind of related. It's not the exact same thing, but there's plenty of room for atheists. There's plenty of room for skeptics. Like it's good to have those questions, and it's even better to go out and pursue those answers and to find out what's really out there. There's a difference between not believing or being an atheist or being a skeptic and being someone who I would call like a hateful skeptic or a hateful atheist. It's like, if you don't believe in something, doesn't mean you have to be angry about it. Like, that's kind of weird. And it's even more strange that you would be angry if you didn't believe, because then that's like, I always use the analogy. It's like not believing the boogeyman lives in your closet, but every night you stand there and scream in the closet that there's no boogeyman. It's like,
yes.
If you don't believe in it, just move on. Like, it's cool. Let other people just do their thing, as long as it's respectful and not hurting anybody.
Yes.
But I do like what you said, what you touched on, Sheena, about like the creativity, like that spark of imagination that we get. I really do believe comes from a divine connection, whatever that may be, I'm like, even, oh man, when my brain sometimes goes wonky, but Paul McCartney, I think was it yesterday? Like, he came to him from like a dream state, and then he swore he heard it somewhere. He went from person to person trying to verify it to make sure that he wasn't stealing this lick or this rhythm.
Sure.
It came to him in that kind of like that weird, just coming out of a dream state. And I feel like going in and coming out of dream states is often one of those things where we get a lot of that divine intervention or that connection and that inspiration that we take from in our human level to create and to manifest in this world.
Yes. It's very true. And I always think that from I played in bands and I did a lot of theater. When you're standing there with a bunch of people and the curtain's about to go up and you're thinking, I don't have any idea how we're going to get this together for 2 hours. And then, Dustin, it's like you blink your eyes and the curtain's coming back down. It's done. And you don't even remember half of what's happened.
It's
that
amazing.
is, to me, the God source, right? Coming into the channel and co-creating with you and almost taking things over so that it goes cohesively with everybody.
It's amazing. I've done so many lectures, thankfully, over the years, but I've been very blessed recently. I remember I did one in Vegas earlier this year, and I got done with it. I was supposed to have something completely different. Like, there was supposed to be an AV setup. I had like a keynote presentation, and my keynotes aren't like reading things. They're just pictures and bullet points for me to remember. But for some reason, they didn't have the AV set up. Nothing was working. So I got there, like, you just have to fill the hour. I don't know what the heck I talked about. When it was done, people were like, it was the first standing ovation I ever got. People were crying. Some woman came up to me. She's like, my company has motivational speakers every quarter. I've never seen anybody talk like you. And I'm like, I wish I knew what the hell I said, because I have no recollection of what happened during that time. But I feel like spirit just moves through you if you allow it to, if you pray upon it, if you meditate upon it. And when it happens, it's really like you're a magical conduit. And it's nice too, because then you know it's not about you. It really helps with being humble on things, you know, because it's like,
oh yeah,
people
yeah,
really
and
feel like that, but I know it wasn't me that really did it.
well, and for artists that want to feel special, and right, Dustin, so many artists want to feel special.
Mhm.
Well, feel special in knowing that spirit has picked you to
Right.
channel this particular information to.
Yeah,
There's nothing more special than that. You
absolutely.
got picked to get this song. You got picked to get this story or this Facebook post or whatever message needed to go out. You got picked to put it out. That is the best thing in the world.
It really is. I love when I see that, like I'll post something on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and someone's like, "You have no idea how much I need to hear that right now." I'm like,
Yes.
I'm a completely broken, screwed up little vessel, but in my prayer life, I'm always like, just tell me what you want me to do when you want me to do it. And there'll be times where I'm like just about to go to sleep, and all of a sudden I get some, like, I like to call it a download. Like I just get this thing in my head. I'm like, the hell's that from? And I just like tweet it out or I'll post it, and then like I'll wake up in the morning and there's the reaction. You know, like there's where it was supposed to go. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, it's great.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. Yeah, but that's part of feeling so chosen and so blessed, right? Each one of us is chosen for specific things. And that's what makes each one of us so important and each one of us so blessed.
Right.
So when you think, going back to spirits and ghosts and the paranormal, so what do you think when you go into a paranormal place, when you've been in these places and you investigated so many of the famous places all over the world? What do you think is there? I mean, how much of it do you think is really deceased people? How much of it do you think is earth spirits or native energy or elementals? I was clearing a house this week, and I mean it just felt kind of when I was in it, like a little heavy. But I stayed for a couple hours, and I'm very fond of the owner, and I spent a lot of time talking to her and her daughter. And then, man, the minute I left that place, I just felt like I got hit with a wall of depression and the worst, nausea. And I know that's not the spirit of some sad old dead guy that lived there. That's something much bigger that comes up out of the earth. And I think when we're thinking about the paranormal, it's like thinking about the spiritual, right? Not everything is just the ghost of grandma and she goes in the laundry room and makes your colors white, white and bright. But there's some stuff that's really vast and huge in there, right? That is not of this earth. And it's you're dealing with all different levels of intensity that can affect you different ways energetically.
Right. And I think as a paranormal researcher, investigator, whatever title they want to slap on me, I feel when I go to a lot of places, a lot of the claims of what people have experienced there usually are of a residual energy type nature. There's no spirit to communicate with. I think a lot of the spirits that we do come across that were of an intelligent nature, meaning somebody who passed away, I think a lot of them, and it's my own belief, that a lot of them aren't really always earthbound. I think a lot of them are kind of lingering, or they race back and forth,
Yes, much. Yes, they go back and forth between home and here. Yes.
And I think that makes sense, regardless of your belief system. I think a loving God or goddess or creator would allow for that interaction, because our souls travel in these circles. So of course, when one of us is missing from there, you want to see what they're doing here, so that's why we'd have that.
Absolutely.
I think that makes sense. And I feel for me that a lot of the stuff is things that we're not meant to understand or not meant to be able to explain. Those bigger things, those bigger energies, those things that connect us all. We don't give, and this is something that is a personal thing for me, and it's fine that it's not for everybody. But in the troubling world that we live in, and it's always troubling, I know sometimes it seems more so than others, but things happen, and for some reason, people turn and attack faith. They turn and attack hope instead of the human that's causing the issues. There's a horrible, tragic shooting or something, and people are like, stop with your thoughts and prayers. We need this, we need that. And
yes.
I agree. Yeah, we do need to take action for sure. That's why we're here. You're the hands and feet of the creator, the God, goddess, whatever it is. We're supposed to be doing things. We can't just sit around and be like, okay, like, can you fix this? This sucks. Like, that'd be great, but everybody wants to pray for their football team to win, but that doesn't work. We need to actually do things. But to turn and just to to get mad at people that say, you know, my thoughts and prayers are with you. Sometimes maybe that's all that person can offer. Maybe
Right.
that's
Yes.
something that
Yeah.
person holds so dear. There's nothing wrong with hope or faith. Yes, we need action. Yes, we need to do things. Absolutely. But to turn your negative energy and attack somebody who's just offering maybe the only thing they know how to, I think is the wrong way to do it. You know, because now we're throwing darkness on top of darkness. Like there's no way to get light out of that. That doesn't help at all. And
Yeah.
I use this as a very relevant talking point. In the last couple of years, you know, we talk about COVID all the time, and now a little less and less. Like today, the CDC is like, oh, you don't even have to quarantine, screw it. But like 2 years ago, it was like all you could talk about, and some people it's all they can talk about. And yes, it's a serious thing, and it's unfortunate. A lot of people get sick, and a lot of people die. But that's also a lot of our human condition that throughout time these things do happen. But to constantly hyper focus about it. In a world we are so connected with our phones, with our media, with our screens, with the news, and in a time where they tell you, you can't leave your house. You have to stay home and stay tuned. We're going to tell you more. We're going to tell you more. And everybody's thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it. And it gets worse and worse and darker. I really think people forget how strong our thoughts and prayers are. And when we're constantly thinking about things, we are giving it more power. We're giving more energy. And we were so misdirected for some time that we were adding to the negativity. We're adding to the monster instead of diffusing the monster with hope and prayer and whatever it is that makes things better for us. And I feel like if we can look at that, if we can look at COVID, because a lot of people, like, you know me, I'm all about kindness and love. And a lot of people think it's very foolish to be kind in this world. They see kindness as weakness and cowardice. And I think it's the most important thing to realize how strong it takes to be in a world where kindness is looked upon as weak. When a world is constantly kicking you in the teeth and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to get angry. I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to take care of the people I love, but I'm not going to change who I am because other people suck. I'm going to still be good. I'm still going to show that light and love. And if we can think how COVID changed the world, and it had to spread from one source, wherever you want to believe that source was, it came from one place. And it spread and it spread and it spread and it touched a whole global community. Well, why the hell can't we do that with kindness? Why can't we be like really nice to somebody and that person also shows that niceness? We change that person's darkness into light.
Yes.
And they just manifest that and manipulate that. If we can spread a disease around the world, there's no reason we can't spread kindness and a smile and a little bit of understanding and respect for each other and respect for hope and prayer or whatever your faith may be. I really think we should focus more upon that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And in any case, there's nothing wrong with sending thoughts and prayers or love and light.
Doesn't hurt.
Would it be great to also send a donation, give blood, change the rules so it can't happen again? Absolutely.
Right. Sure.
But in what world is it a bad thing to send thoughts and prayers? I'm sick of your thoughts and prayers. Well, then you maybe have to look at the negativity inside of yourself and figure out why thoughts and prayers are so upsetting to you. I saw this really
$2 million and somebody gives me $5, maybe it doesn't solve the big problem. I'm still not going to be upset by it.
Right, exactly. I saw this great meme the other day that said something like, don't be upset when people are mean to you. It's just that your light upsets their demons. And I think there's something to be said for that, right? Some people I've learned in my life, the more I've become focused on doing the spiritual work, there are some people, Dustin, that are just allergic to joy. And the more joy you have, the more positivity you put out, the more you're going to anger them. And there's not anything that you can do about it. It is what it is. And you have to just keep doing it. I remember once somebody telling me, I said, I love you too much. You say, I love you too much. Why do you go on Facebook and tell people you love them? It's not true. And then people in your real life that you really love don't know that they're special. It's like, well, first of all, I do love everyone. I do send I love you. I do love the world. I do think I love you are healing words that people hear and they feel better. Mm-hmm. And if somebody in my life thinks I don't love them because I put that, then somebody who supposedly is in my life and knows me so well doesn't really know me at all because they know I have enough love to go around. Yeah. But again, that's that stopping of the flow of positivity, right? The energetic positivity flow. Let's damp that up. Right. And that's how we get into these problems in the first place, right?
Yeah. And that's that darkness that is with, and listen, I really believe all of us have this void inside us. You know, like my mission statement or whatever the heck it is, over the years of combining motivational work with spirituality and paranormal stuff,
Sure.
it always comes down to me that we are spirits in a human experience.
Yes.
We're not from here. We don't stay here. But this earth, our little island home, is where we kind of train, where we learn. But there's always that void inside us because we're not beings of this earth. So
yes,
in a material world where we're told, like, buy more things, you need a bigger house, you need the new iPhone, that'll make you happy. And when you get it, yeah, maybe you're happy for a little bit until the next one comes out or something else happens.
Exactly.
Things never fill that void. And so sometimes that darkness grows because we can't rationalize it. And then we get upset when we see other people that seem to be happy because we're not happy. And we're like, and then that monster, that darkness starts to grow inside us, and we lash out at the light. And I remember I was driving one time. I got done with a college lecture, and I was driving to either my next stop or the airport or wherever the heck I was. But it was dark out. It was late. And I remember hearing on the radio, this was many moons ago, but I remember hearing on the radio, the miners, the Chilean miners that were trapped underground were finally rescued.
Yay.
And they were brought up. And even though it was like dusk, they needed sunglasses because they were in the darkness for so long. The light was harmful to them. It was so off-putting. And I feel that when we get somebody who's been either treated bad by family or by clergy members, whoever it is that has turned this person and fed that monster and forced this darkness to overtake them, when we come up and we're like, hey, how's it going? Love you. Have a great day. Love and light. Peace, love, hope. They're like, screw you. What? I hate you. And I get that because that light is so bright and they've been in the dark for so long, it's harsh, And so sometimes I say, you don't change who you are, but you plant a little seed of kindness. Maybe you're not there to water it every day. Maybe you're not there to shine a light on it and make it grow, but you do your job and you do your job well. And then the next person will come along in time to help water that seed, to help put sunlight upon it, whatever it needs. But we don't turn against that person. We don't be harmful or make them feel worse. We just kindness. I love when people tell me, "Oh, you're too kind." I'm like, no, there's no such thing. That's
I hear that too. Yeah, and they don't always say it as a compliment.
Yeah,
they say it's sort of like you're too kind, like you're weak. And I do think a lot of times in my life, and I'm sure Dustin, you too, people have mistook my kindness for weakness. Mm-hmm. That's a real thing, and thought there was something wrong with me. I think they've also sometimes thought. Mistook my joy for ego, like, oh, well, what's up with you that you think you're like too good to be in a bad mood? I mean, I have bad moods. I'm Irish. When I go down, I go down. I mean, I have a bad mood like everybody else. I go through. This has been a very, very challenging year for me. This has not been the best year for me. Mm-hmm. But am I just going to sit around and be miserable, or am I going to use that energy, replace a negative with a positive? By thinking, well, I could sit here and be depressed all day, or I could turn on the camera, do a video, do some readings for some folks, send some hope and loves and prayers to people, and turn that negative, fill that negative space with positive, because darkness and light can't live in the same place. Right. So if you're feeling like in a dark place, fill that place with light. If you were depressed because it was too dark in your house, you'd pull the blinds, pull the shades, pull the curtains, open a window, and let the sunlight in.
Yeah.
But why can't you do that in your own mind, in your own heart, if you start to feel like you're in a bad place? And I understand people are conditioned, like you said, from their childhoods to feel a certain way, or they're so numb from trauma that they naturally do that. But at some point, my mama had just a real bad childhood, real bad. And she used to always say, you can't help what's happened to you, but you can help how you live every day. Mm-hmm. And I think that is so true. And she also used to say what you were saying before. She used to say, everything that's happened to me in my life has made me stronger, but it's also made me softer. Mm-hmm. And I love that, because you should take the experiences of the things in your life that were great and the things that weren't so great and use them to become a stronger soul, but also to become a softer being. Because I believe we're really here to be gentle with each other. And there is so not enough of that in the world. No, and that's what I love about you. I know you spread a little bit of that. I know every time somebody comes to get an autograph or a photo or a copy of your books or whatever with you, I know you take a little bit of light and you just push it in there, Dustin. A little bit of light goes in.
I try. And it's interesting, like you said, with the when it comes to like the darkness and stuff, I'm definitely not above it. I struggle quite a bit, and it was very tough for me. The last couple of years, used to being on the road all the time, and I make the joke, and I say it in a joking way, but there's truth in there. There's always a little truth in every joke. I always say I go from a hero to zero every week because I'm on the road on the weekend and people are clapping and they come up and they want to buy a picture, they want to hug me, like they tell me these great stories, and then I go back to work and I'm sitting in front of the computer pressing buttons while patients yell at me about their insurance or the doctor's because something gets screwed
Sure.
up.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's great. People are always like, wow, you're so down to earth. I'm like, yep, yes, I am. It's an interesting balance of things, but I think it's good. But I really feel like when we go through those experiences, it's tricky, and for me, the balance of light for me, when I have those dark moments, music is something that I use a lot to pull myself out of it. But sometimes I was having a couple of nights ago, I was having a tough night and I went for a walk and I just wasn't feeling right. And it was like some out of a movie. I was like, all I need to do is go for a walk. I'll feel better. And I get to like my halfway point and the skies opened up and just started pouring. I was like, well, this seems about right. And I started to walk home and this song came on my AirPods and it was like, just like, one of the songs I keep because I love it for those sad moments. Mm-hmm. And I started to listen to it on repeat. I was like, okay, I have to be careful not to get caught in the spiral because I feel personally in my own struggles, my own life, that depression is weird. Like you think about like the old like Paxil commercial, whatever, with that storm cloud that follows you,
Yeah.
I feel like at first when you start to feel off, you're like, this is weird. Like I don't normally feel like this. And it's uncomfortable and you're upset by it a little bit. And then you try to fight out of it, but then it doesn't seem to go away. And then it's still there. And you try to get out more. And it seems like the harder you run, the more you work, it doesn't seem to push off. Yeah. And there's a point where sadness and depression starts to become comforting. And that's where I think it becomes really dangerous because it becomes familiar. And although this isn't exactly how you want to feel, you've grown accustomed to that feeling. And this may not be for everybody, but I know it's been true for myself. And music helps me out a hell of a lot. Vitamin D, I take a lot of doses of vitamin D. We cannot get enough of it from the sun because most of us have to work inside all the time. And here in New England, it's always dark and rainy. Like once we get
right. And here in Los Angeles, we all have skin cancer, so we can't be out there that much.
Yeah, so one way or another, like we can't get the things we naturally need. So I use my vitamin D supplements a lot, and I'm exercise. Like I'm at the gym 2 hours a night, and it's not like a vanity thing. Like I'm never going to look like one of the wrestlers from the '80s that I grew up watching and wanted to look like. But it makes me feel better about myself, not physically, and knowing it from a health perspective that it's so good for me. But mentally, the endorphin release, the dopamine release, by the time I'm leaving the gym, whatever my problems were before I got there are gone. Like I feel fantastic,
Yeah.
That works for me. But you find what works for you. And for some people, it's a creative outlet. For some people, it's a physical thing. But we have to be careful we don't make the wrong choices because we can also fill that void with, lots of things like drugs and alcohol with, in excess, nothing is good for us. Even exercise, if you overdo it, it's not good for you. So we have to find that balance to fill that void, but it's not easy. The human experience is a kick in the pants 9 times out of 10, but man, that 10th time you ride high. It's fantastic,
Well, and I think if you have good friends in your life, it doesn't take a lot. My mama used to say, you really just only need one person to really love you in your life and everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. A cat, Sheena. A wrinkled cat, a bald wrinkled cat that I swear loves me more than anything I've ever met.
Yes.
And I carry it around sometimes. I'll tell you, I'll come home, I'll be sad. She's at the door. I'm like, how do you know? The other cats don't care. The furry ones don't even get out of bed. But she runs and greets me. And I'm like, there's my buddy. Yeah. It's like there's a connection. It's weird. But
I have that too. I have a beautiful little blue guy. And he is the same way. And sometimes when I'm sad, he just he'll do this thing where he'll just take his paw and put it on top of my hand. And then he'll just look at me like, it's going to be okay, mommy. And then suddenly everything's going to be okay, right? I mean, that's the beauty of just having someone to love you. But sometimes it's just reaching out. Don't keep your stuff bottled up. Call a friend. Tell them how you're feeling. Tell them what you fear. Tell them, even if you think it sounds silly. I had a weird thing happen a couple of weeks ago. I don't think I've talked about it on the show before, but I just recently talked about it on one of my radio shows that you've been on. I got turned into the police in the little bedroomy beachy community that I live in. I was driving up and down the street, looking at houses in a neighborhood that my mom and I used to love to go to and look at Christmas lights. And a woman standing on her front patio decided I was staking out houses for a burglary ring. So she started filming me, and I waved at her. And instead of asking what I was doing there, she just kept filming. And then 4 days later, I get a letter from the police. I'm implicated in a felony. And it was, and of course, you get the letter at night. You can't talk to the police officer till the next day. It was a sleepless night. It was extremely stressful. And the endorphin rush was so insane that I couldn't sleep for 2 days afterwards. I mean, I find I'm still very PTSD now. I was at the drugstore yesterday, and I'm kind of like, this is my prescriptions, and I paid for them, because I'm terrified now that some other misunderstanding is going to be, I get a letter from the chief of police saying there's a felony, all in caps, felony, and my car has been implicated in it. So I freak now. And I've realized this is something it's going to take me some time to get over. Things happen to us all the time, silly things. And it takes us a while. And just because we consciously think we're over them, sometimes emotionally, spiritually, energetically, we're still processing. Our bodies are still processing that muscle memory. And it's okay. You can't, it's all right to call a friend and say, you're going to think I'm crazy, but this is still freaking me out. And get it out of you, and not let it sit and fester inside, where then it inevitably becomes, Dustin, either depression or anxiety, right?
Or a type of physical ailment too. Like a lot of times, if we didn't realize all the things, like we do physical harm to our body, and it's so crazy how everything is connected, yet we seem to think that it's not, and I feel like as spiritual creatures going through human experience, a lot of times we've been so conditioned by this world to focus on the here and now and the material things, that we forget to, like, I mean, I'm thankful that I go to the gym for 2 hours a night so that I feel better physically and emotionally. It helps me, and mentally, but spiritually, we need to have that exercise too, whatever that is. And so my nighttime walk is one of those things for me. It's not always going and sitting in a church or synagogue or whatever it may be for you. Sometimes it's just that moment in nature where you're just alone. I'll tell you, one of my favorite things, and this is hard to do here in Rhode Island, but like I was just on the road in Texas and Kansas. For me, it's easier there. And I remember a distinct moment in Australia where you just stand and look at the stars in the sky, and it feels so good to feel small in a really big world. Like your troubles, all those things seem a little bit less when you realize how big everything else is. And I feel like being an adult, sometimes we forget that. When you're small, you don't have a choice, because everyone's bigger than you. Everything's bigger than you are. Everything's a friggin' mountain to climb. But then when you get bigger, you start to feel like, oh, I know everything. I control everything. Science explains everything. But it's not true. And we find, like, I love going hiking, and I love going on the mountainsides. And to feel, I used to get in trouble a lot with the international show, because I'd be in a strange land and I'd just go off wandering at night. But I like that little emotional feeling of unrest, like, I don't know where I am. This is a huge place. And but it made me feel like this is good. It's good to realize my place in the universe. It's not all about me. It's not me centric. And my thoughts, my feelings, although they're very important, the way we tie in together is much more important. And I use this analogy in traffic all the time. People seem to miss the fact that if you just let other people merging is a very simple thing, but it's the problem with traffic. Just let one person go, then you go. But no, like you're trying to get out of a parking lot and there's a red light, but those people are not going to let you out because they want to sit at the red light and keep you locked in. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you're not.
So they can get there one car length faster. That's always made me laugh. I mean, one car. Why are we in such a hurry? I was in a really bad accident when I was 23, a freeway accident here in Southern California, and had a near-death experience. And ever since that, I'm not in a hurry to go anywhere. No. I will leave earlier and give myself the time so I can pretty much drive 55 everywhere. Because when you've lived through something like that, you realize getting there 5 minutes earlier, 10 minutes, it's not worth it.
No. I mean, most of the time I'm just going to work. I don't want to go there anyway. So what the hell do I do?
a couple extra minutes.
Yeah,
No, it's true. We need to, and I think that's part of the idea of Dustin, of us being one human family, right? We need to think more of ourselves as a collective special family, and not all for me and none for you, and me and you and us and them. And that's getting us into all kinds of trouble. And after, 10,000 plus years of humanity, it's not benefiting us.
No.
So isn't it time to maybe try something new, like not us and them, but, something new, like let's try to see how we can work together. How can we help each other? How can I open a door for someone? How can I, tip the barista or ask somebody working at a store? Like I said to a lady in the grocery store yesterday, I went in there and I was in so much not feeling. I just had a bunch of dental work done for the first time in my life, so I'm not used to it.
Yeah.
Welcome to being 55. You turn 55 and your teeth go, goodbye. So anyway, I went in there. I was feeling great after I left the dentist. And then by the time I got to the grocery store, it hit me. Yeah. And I barely remember checking out. I don't even, who knows what happened. And so I went back in. I went back later to get some stuff from my friend before dinner. And I saw the same manager and I stopped her and said, I just want to thank you because I come in here a lot. I came in here the other day, earlier today, and you were actually my checker. And you were so wonderful. It's so hard to be out and about in the world when you don't feel good. And thank you. And I think she was a little shocked that I wasn't there to complain. Right. Because I think mostly people just talk to managers when, let me talk to your manager. Like it's never, hey, can I just say something nice?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in management a long time. And the times people have asked to speak with me to compliment my staff or a team member are exponentially less than people that complain. That's why I'm never into like Yelp reviews and stuff.
Yeah.
Like people are like, oh my God, this was the best. It's usually, I hate this. This was the worst. This person's dumb. And it's like, oh my God, like I just don't even want to. I'll tell you, I was in New York a couple of years ago. And I had a meeting. I had a network meeting. And I went out at night and I was with my buddy. We went out, had a beer. And then I was like, I'm going to go wander, just do my thing, because even in New York, despite all that's there with the big buildings, you can still feel very lost and small. And so I wanted that moment. And I saw a woman, and she was walking, and she had 2 canes, and she was trying to make her way forward, and I could see what a struggle it was for. And I walked by her at first, and I was like, I'm gonna go back and see if I can help her. Right? And so I walked over to her, and she was considerably older than I was. She was probably like in her 60s, and I said, ma'am, is there anything I can do to help you? I was like, I don't have a car here or something. I said, but you're having a hard time getting by. I was like, maybe I could get you an Uber or something to take you somewhere. And she looked at me. She's like, "Why would you want to do that?"
Right, exactly. Where's the scam, right?
Yeah,
when are you gonna? Yeah.
And I appreciated the question. I was like, "Oh," I said, "Well, I just feel like we should help each other in this world." And she's like, "This is interesting to me." She's like, "Will you sit and talk with me?" And so we went to this like alcove in this building, and there's a bench, and she would tell me about like her surgeries and her problems with her knees and everything. We must have talked for like 45 minutes. She told me about how she went to school across the street from the Astoria Hotel that was up the road when the Beatles came to New York. And all the teachers, I think she said they were nuns, yelled at the kids not to get out of their seats. She's like, but I ran to the window because I wanted to see the Beatles anyway. And this nostalgia thing about growing up in New York and what it meant to her. And she's like, now I walk through the city and I'm struggling. She's like, but nobody ever stops. Nobody ever offers to help anymore. Yeah. And so it was just a nice moment. Then she offered to take me in and buy me a drink. I said, no, I'm good, But it was just such a nice, just exchange. And it's just, there's room for those moments in our lives. I know they're terribly busy and we got a hell of a lot going on, but it doesn't take a lot to offer somebody just a little bit of kindness as we go through whatever. And it's always sad when someone's like, oh, how kind of you that you opened the door. I'm like, thank you. But then I'm thinking, why is that remarkable in any way? you know?
Isn't it true though? But we're here to have this human experience. Like you said, right? We're spiritual beings. We're having a human experience, and we are here to interact with each other and help each other. That's part of it. That's part of our spiritual lessons every day, is we're supposed to do that, but we don't think about it. And that's a shame, because we think about it as like extra, or is it taking time away, or I did this nice thing. No, it's your duty. There are things here that are just your duty as part of your spiritual path. Helping others along the way is one. Being kind is one. Bringing light and joy to the world is one. It's like the expression, service is the rent you pay for the privilege of living on the earth. That's part of your service.
Right.
Those simple niceties. And just if everybody became 5% kinder, the tsunami of kindness that would cover the earth would be absolutely unbelievable. And it helps you as well. So I'll tell you a story I tell on the show a lot. I had a friend who had end-stage breast cancer. And basically, we would see her out places and just say goodbye to her because there was pretty much nothing, no hope that she was going to get better. And then miraculously, she did. She got better. And then it's been, I don't know, 20, 30 years. It's never returned. So she was doing my show one day and she told this story that in her first day of chemo, a volunteer came with cookies. And she was passing cookies out to everybody in chemo. And she passed one to my friend. My friend went to grab it. And the woman next to her said, "Don't eat that cookie. You don't know what's in it. You don't know who's touched it. You don't know anything about that woman. Why is she making cookies?" So my friend kind of shrugged and took the cookie. And when she was leaving that day, the nurse said to her, "I see a lot of people come through here and you're going to live." And my friend said, "No," I say, "Tell me I'm not." She's like, "You're going to live because of your attitude." She said, "That woman next to you, maybe not." Right. Because I see the way people react to the volunteers, to their situation, and the ones that are filled with light and positivity oftentimes are the one that live. And then sure enough, my friend went into remission. The woman who wouldn't take the cookie passed. Yeah. So I know that's a simple story to explain that. Yeah. But it makes sense. Nice person has made you a cookie. Why not take it? Why not? And I know then my best friend had cancer a couple of years ago, and it was people would bring knit caps and they would bring scarves and blankets. Why not be so grateful that you're feeling bad and somebody's come to you with a blanket to give to you to make you feel better? Are you going to have that attitude of, "Wow, this is great"? Or, "Well, I don't know. Is there poison in the blanket? Is there, did she wrap this blanket in a child molester before?" Yes. But that's some people automatically go to that dark place of suspicion, and it's physiologically, amongst other things, affecting their being, right, Dustin?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times I have this whole new lecture called Plus Ultra I started last year, and it's all about the power that we have within our mind that we don't seem to think we have anymore, And in the paranormal world, we often think about like the Rhine Institute with like the bending of the spoons and such.
Sure.
And people are like, "Oh, that doesn't really work." But I recently was able to tour the Rhine Institute. My manager set it up when we were in town, and they've got the place is lousy with bent spoons from all their cigars and things. And maybe the first time you try to do these things, it doesn't work, because the first time I go to the gym and I try to lift 100 pounds, I can't do it. You need to start smaller, and you work on it and you work on it. But there was a great movie that unfortunately came out, I think, on St. Patrick's Day in 2020. Like the day we pulled the plug on theaters, this movie was released. It was called Onward, and it was by Pixar. Disney Pixar put out Onward. And I did a lecture for Pixar last year, a virtual lecture, and I felt like such a fanboy because I was so excited to speak to these animators and everything. You tell them how much this meant to me. But Pixar, when they put out Onward, it's about these magical creatures who are living in their own modern times. They need to turn the light, they press the button. They need to do something, they press the button. But they talk about their old ways where they would go out and get a crystal and do a ritual, and they would create light. And we've made things so easy for ourselves now, right? Yeah. And when I was in high school, I knew everybody's home phone number. I knew their pager number because we didn't have cell phones yet. And now it's I don't know anybody. It's I need to get the robot and I need to find the picture and I press the button and then like a monkey, I get to talk to that person.
Exactly. And I just yelled Alexa to do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. We've weakened ourselves. We've become so conditioned to rely upon the technology that has been developed that we're losing our own natural abilities in a lot of these ways. And I think mentally we are much stronger than we are ever given credit for, or maybe even than they want us to believe. I think I'm not a big conspiracy theorist thing, but I really feel like there's something to be said about people in charge, whoever that may be. I don't care about parties or any of that crap. I think worldwide, people in charge want to control the people that are underneath them. And for whatever reason, a lot of time for financial gain and power trip and ego. Yes. But I feel like a lot of times it's keep people dumbed down, keep them in debt, keep them drugged up, keep them drunk, keep them in some type of discord, keep them divided, just whatever it is, just keep them in this way so that they can't possibly come together. They can't realize what their own natural abilities are, you know?
Yeah.
If you need, if you need medication or whatever, get yourself healthy, like do those things. But don't forget that we're spiritual beings and that we have a lot of power too. And maybe we don't manifest it like we used to. We don't practice like we used to. But having that mental edge of, I want to get better, I believe I can get better, is actually going to make a huge difference. You know, and maybe it doesn't work all the time, but I would like to think if this was something quantifiable, if we could measure hope in some way, I think we would see a benefit in those that have that hope versus those that unfortunately are bereft of it. You know,
I agree,
people
100%.
Plants, or they talk positive to the plants, and the plants grow. Yeah. The other ones don't. There's something there. You know, there's something. There's some magic in that old silk hat still.
Yeah, I notice my plants grow more if I'm around them because I live back and forth between two places. And I'm now moving all my plants to where I am most of the time because if I'm not with the plants, they don't grow.
Yeah,
it does help to talk to them, sing to them, tell them how beautiful they are, touch them. How do we know that they don't love touch? You know, all mammals love touch. Yeah. How do we know that? I mean, a snake loves to be touched.
It's such
a pet snake.
Thing. Like, I remember seeing a case study where they had two little chimps, I think they were chimpanzees that were born of one mother, and they were split at birth. And they were kept in separate rooms. One kept with the mother, another kept with like this robot-looking mom that at a certain time would provide food and then nothing else. And the fact that there was no cuddling, there was no coddling, there was no love, there's no touching, no tactile response.
Yeah.
That other monkey was withering away with the robot mom, although it was getting the same nutrients.
Yeah.
Other things were missing, and we need those things.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's such a cruel study to do. I understand why they have to do it, but the poor baby that got the robot mom,
right?
I mean, that's so sad. Yeah. And I think we need that. People think, I don't need people in my life. I don't like people. Look, people can be a lot,
for sure.
We still need them. That's why we have so many animal companions to like fill us up when people drain us.
Yeah.
But fortunately or unfortunately, we're still supposed to be spending time with people because we're here to help each other. And a lot of people need a lot of help. And we're here to provide that help.
Sometimes I feel like it's, wherever you are with reincarnation is fine for everybody. But I kind of feel like it's often an old soul, young soul thing. I feel like the younger souls are still very me focused and kind of miss the whole thing. And sometimes cause a lot of problems, you know?
Yeah.
The older ones are more forgiving and understand that if we've gotten to
that. When you've gone round and around the bend enough and you've had all these challenges, you've had to overcome every life, you stop sweating the small stuff so much.
Sure, for sure. I'm hoping I'm done after this one. I'm not in a rush to get to the end, but I'm tired. And I like to think that when I'm done, maybe this will be the last run for a while at least. Maybe
yeah, my mom used to say that she was never coming back, and we still are in communication even though she's passed. Yeah. Probably not surprising, as psychic as we both are. I every once in a while ask her, and she's still like, "No, I'm not. No." Yeah. But I think someday I might be able to convince her. I may have to go home and convince her from there to come back.
Yeah,
I'm ready to come back. I'm ready to. As soon as I go, I'm ready to come back because there's work here that needs to be done. There's people that need to get helped and loved, and I feel like
don't make me feel guilty.
Oh no, I don't. What's the matter with you, Dustin, that you won't come back?
Right? That you want to help everybody. Oh, mister, I want a break all of a sudden.
I understand wanting a break, and she did too, and I applaud her for wanting it. It's a lot, and it's hard, and you do need a break sometimes. I get that.
Yeah, get a refill.
What are you loving in your spiritual work right now? What are you all about?
Oh, I'll tell you, I've been so blessed to have so many different opportunities, and just every day, like it's funny too, like you said, like kindness is self-rewarding in some ways too, you know, like what they call the helper's high. Like I put that in one of my Hey Gun Minute videos. Like there's something to be said for that. And I actually just told the story about this woman at an event I was at recently, many years ago. This woman came to an event that I did in Gettysburg, and it wasn't a very well-attended event. It was their first year, which is normal. Good people. And as I'm standing there, I can see the door, and this woman just caught my eye, and she comes walking right over to me, and she just gives me this big hug, and she starts crying, and she's like, I just came here to thank you because you helped me out online a couple of years ago when I was thinking about taking my own life.
Wow.
And like I start crying, she started crying, like there's this whole thing. And I haven't heard from her in many, many years. And the other day I was kind of like in my own little personal struggle, and she just randomly popped up on Twitter. She's like, "Hey, I just want to remind you, like, that would have been the biggest mistake. I'm so happy where I am now, and I owe a lot to you." And I'm like, "Oh man, that's so good," you know? And so I'm always just so thankful for, like, I mean, maybe I downplay it too much, but I feel like I have a stupid little platform, you know, like I'm a tertiary, like, cast member on a reality show. Like, I don't have the biggest platform for the most wonderful of reasons, for the most admirable of reasons. Like, I look at teachers and physicians. I'm like, these are people that are doing things that are great. Like, I walk around in the dark and say, "Who's that?" Like, that's fun. You know? But,
did you die? Were you a little girl? How old were you?
But for some reason, just like when we watch, you know, fiction shows, like, there's connection with characters, or we read a book when a character resonates. And the fact that, you know, I am a real person and people can reach out to me via social media or come to events, and sometimes the soul connection's there, and I get the opportunity to help somebody, like, that is just the most rewarding dang thing going. And my motivation work by far, like, pays the least of my bills, but it's the most spiritually and self-fulfilling, like, reward that I could ever ask for. You know, when somebody like, "I really appreciate you helped me out with this," or "This that you wrote was inspiring." I'm like, "That's fantastic." You know, and again, I don't take credit for it because I don't know what the hell half of it is. Here's one of my biggest secrets. Most of the stuff that I write online that seems to really help people is usually me talking to myself. A lot of times I write the tweet out and it's like, I often feel like this and this and this, and I'll look at it and I think, okay, how can I make this so I can help other people? And then I go back and I change some of the verbiage. So it's like, "You often may feel like blah, 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 but hang in there because of this." So I've actually just coached myself.
Yeah, sure.
Running around because I know I can't be the only person that feels like this, you know?
Absolutely. Or the only person the message was from. The message that came from Spirit was for more than just you. It was for you to pass on to other people. I love that. You're wonderful, my friend. Let's do this again. What an honor to have you here. Where can people find you online?
Easily found at dustinpari.com. All my information's there. We get a lot of events coming up, a lot of virtual events, a lot of in-person things. If you go to YouTube, youtube.com/DustinPari, you can catch my Hey Got a Minute motivational video series. I have a whole new season of that I just need to edit and upload, my buddy Cody. But life is busy, but we'll get to it. In the meantime, there's like 100 something of them on there. They're only like 2 minutes long, so go check those out.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for being here, and kiss your Sphinx cat for me. I can't wait to meet that little devil and pet that little soft pink belly.
Right.
Thank you for being here. For everybody who missed any of the links for Dustin, you can find me at sheenametalspiritual.com. Find out more about my psychic life, my minister life, my creative life, my media life, sheenametalspiritual.com, and follow me everywhere on social media at Sheena Metal. Until I see you next time, next Friday at 3:00 Pacific time, seek peace, live in love, lead with kindness, embrace unity, always work to raise your vibration, and remember, most importantly, that you are love and you are loved. I'm Sheena Metal. Thanks to Dustin Pari. Thanks to KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We'll see you next Friday, 3:00 Pacific time. This is the Sheena Metal Experience. Thank you for this opportunity.